Thanks for joining us today. We're so excited to talk to you about Croatia. My name's Kyle Carter. I'm the Chief Curation Officer here at Croatia Travel, and I've got two of our other team members on here. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Brianna.
Hi. Oh. We both go by the name Brianna. No.
So I'd be first. Okay. Hi. Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. My name is Brianna Giesemann. I am the manager of curated experiences at Croatia Travel, and I'm also a senior tour leader. We have so much to share about Croatia, and we want to make sure that everyone learns a little bit today. I know there are some on the call that are already registered for the trip, so they're just excited and they want to learn more too. And then there's some people who aren't registered and just, I guess, hoping to learn a little bit more. So that's what you'll get today. So now I will pass it to Martina, not Brianna, Martina.
Hello, everybody. My name is Martina. I am based in Italy, in Europe, and I am half American and half Italian. I was born and raised here, and I am also a senior tour leader with Croatia Travel, and I've been leading tours with them since 2018. I am approaching my 40th tour, and I will be one of the leaders on one of the Croatia itineraries. Last year, I got to experience it myself, to further research it, and you are in for such a treat. My greatest passion, obviously, like many here on the call, I'm assuming actually everybody, is food. And I am particularly obsessed with the recipes, but also with the traditions and the history behind food. And so one of my roles on the tour will be to be a bridge between the different cultures that we will be experiencing so that we can all enjoy them to the fullest.
Yeah, I thought it was important to share, especially for those of you who know us. Our history is typically doing tours in Italy. So we have started exploring some other countries and taking people to some new destinations, Croatia being the first non-Italy country that we did back in 2024, and wanted to share with you sort of our inspiration behind it, how we've come to love it so much, and why we want to share it with you. And also it's on a boat, which is completely different than our normal tours. So we're excited to share that whole experience with you. So first, dobrodošli, which means welcome in Croatian. We are all trying to hone our Croatian before returning this year. And just for those of you who aren't familiar with Croatia Travel, we've been running tours since 2012, all of them from a culinary perspective, using food as a map to find our way through different countries. We really believe in connecting you not only with a country through the culture, but we believe that the cuisine is part of the culture itself, and sort of getting that full, well-rounded view of a country through their food and through their culinary traditions. And Croatia is no different than the experiences that we offer to Italy as well. I wanted to start by giving everyone, just diving right in to what the boat is like, what you can expect from the tour. For those of you who have looked at these tours a little bit already, you know that we have two itineraries going this summer. One which can be combined. The first one is from Šibenik to Split, and it goes a little bit inland and some coastal destinations. We'll dive a little deeper into the actual stops a few slides down, but it's a little bit of a northern route. And then the second week, Cruising Croatia 2 is from Split to Dubrovnik, and it hits a lot of these islands in the middle. The Split to Dubrovnik was the original itinerary that we did back in 2024, and one that I've done 3 or 4 times now. The Šibenik to Split route is one that we came up with the boating company. It's something that they have wanted to do. They've wanted to show people this more off the beaten path side of Croatia. A lot of people think of Dubrovnik. It's the most visited city in Croatia, but they wanted to show people more where they go when they're on vacation, or where they travel as Croatians. So that's how this first itinerary was born. So again, the Šibenik to Split is Croatia 1, and then Croatia 2 is Split to Dubrovnik. And then we wanted to give you a boat itself. So hopefully that got some of you who are already coming on the cruise excited. As you can see, this is not a big cruise ship. When you think of a cruise, that's not the same thing. This is considered a yacht or a small boat cruise. It's only 19 cabins. There are 11 that have balconies on them, and then there are 8 on the lower deck. And so those are different prices as well. And it's just really an intimate feeling. You don't feel like there are that many people on board. There are a lot of, as you saw, different lounge areas, whether you're looking for like a sun deck or a little reading area. We've got some of the highlights here because again, it did cycle through things pretty quickly, but this, you can see the cabins. The cabins have really nice sized bathrooms, large showers. There's a good amount of storage. So every room has a closet, but there's also under bed storage. So you can put your bags under there, any larger items. There's a small TV in each room, which honestly, I had to go back through pictures to look because it's not like you're sitting in your cabin watching TV. And it's got all the comforts of a hotel. You'll have obviously towel service, and you'll have a beach towel to use all week. You saw some of the swimming platforms. You can jump right off the swimming platform in the back for swimming every day. There's a lovely dining room, so we'll have all of our meals in there. There's a breakfast every morning, the lunches and dinners. You saw there's a jacuzzi on top, which is lovely. Brianna and Martina, anything to add about the boat itself? Any of the boat features?
Yeah, I will just say that I got super excited when I saw the clip of people swimming in the water. That's probably my favorite part about this sort of trip, is that the boat each day will sort of find these little nooks and little alcoves to anchor, and then you just get to jump right off the boat and go swimming in some really incredible waters. Some people do a little bit of snorkeling. There's also like pool noodles or paddle boards that you can use and play around with. Or you can choose to stay on the boat and lounge on the sun deck, or stay cool inside in like the dining area. But that's my favorite part, just being able to really soak in those little swim stops.
And also, there's so many different nooks, so many different areas to hang around at any time, that it never feels crowded. It always feels like there is a nice place where you can either go and chat with your friends, with the other travelers, or maybe a place where you can go and curl up with a nice book. There's never you're never having to get to the chairs first, because there is always plenty for everybody. And for anyone who's also into some physical movement, they do have a little bit of exercise equipment as well, which is very, very nice.
Yeah, plus like you said, with the swimming, you can take out those paddle boards and go exploring. You can go right to the shore if you want and walk around there. You can go, if we're in a little cove, you can go out around the corner and check things out if you're into exploring. And Brianna brings up a good point. I just wanted to kind of go through what a typical day is. Since we are traveling down the coast and have excursions, typically, we are overnight in a port. So we'll get to our destination the day before. We will stay docked overnight. There's only one exception to that on the first itinerary, where we're docked, where we're at anchor overnight, and it's in a protected park area. But typically we are at dock overnight. So even if have a dinner activity, when we come back after the dinner activity, you have the rest of the evening if you want to explore the town. So it gives you some nice extra time to explore whatever our stop is. So we're anchored overnight, and then usually early in the morning, 6 or 7 is when they'll pull anchor and start towards the next stop. So by the time you wake up, we're already cruising to the next destination. On the way, so you'll get up, have breakfast on board while we're cruising. There'll be morning announcements. We'll talk about the agenda for the day, and then you'll have usually a couple. It depends where we're going, but we'll either get right to the swim stop or have a little time sailing. Like Brianna said, our captain will sort of keep an eye out for a good little cove to tuck into. He's usually looking for somewhere that doesn't have another boat, somewhere that's nice and calm, somewhere it's protected from the wind, which is great. And then we'll stop, have a swim stop while they're getting lunch ready. We'll get back on lunch on board as we're sailing to our next destination. So it's all part of the movement of the day's itinerary, but it's all still very relaxed. So usually by the time we're finished lunch, we've gotten to our next destination, and we'll have that day's activity, whether it's a walking tour of a village, or if we're going to an olive oil farm or a winery, and then dinner and return to the boat. Sometimes dinner's in town. Sometimes we have a little excursion to like a farmstead. And in that case, they'll have arranged a bus for us. We'll take a bus and be back. So it's a nice rhythm. You always have some kind of relaxation time during the day, but then also some sort of exploration as well. And I wanted to point out too, for those that aren't familiar with the Google Meet platform, you can ask questions at any time. There's either a chat button at the bottom, the little box with the lines, or there's a hand, and you can raise your hand and unmute yourself and ask a question. So don't feel like you have to wait till the end if you think of anything. Here we go. All right. Margaret, you just need to unmute yourself. There you
go. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So I had a couple of questions as you went through what the days are usually like. So there is a jacuzzi, but there's no pool on the ship. Is that correct?
Correct. Well, they do have a little pool that's on the back swim platform, and but they don't keep it full during transfers, so they will fill it up at certain stops, but it's not always, there's not like a swimming pool. It's very small just because of the size of the boat.
Right. Okay, good. Second question, what time in the morning does the day usually start with the announcements and all of that?
I believe they usually start at 9 is when they would start the announcements. Breakfast, if I recall, usually starts around 7:30. And
Okay.
it's a buffet breakfast, so you don't have to be up. It's kind of like a hotel where it's available within certain hours.
Okay, great. And one other, i- is it possible to get a massage on the ship?
I can double check. I know they've offered this in the past. It was not mentioned for this year, but I can ask them about that for sure.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's all I had so far.
Okay. Any other questions at the moment? Again, feel free to pop in at any point as you guys think of anything. This is meant to be an open session where everyone can get all their questions answered. So those are just some highlights of the ship. Again, I wanted to point out in the bathroom, you can see that there are hair dryers. There's also, they have toiletries just like you would in a hotel. So shampoo, body wash, that sort of thing. So getting into some of the tour highlights, as we mentioned, all of us adore the swim stops. This is just an example of one of the little coves. I can't describe to you what this water is like. It is crystal clear. It is, even if it looks like it's dark blue, you jump in and you can see your feet like it's nothing. It's so clear and beautiful. And the Adriatic in general is has such a high salinity that you jump in and you pop right back to the surface. It's so salty and you're so buoyant in it. So we've had people who've done the cruise before who didn't swim and were very comfortable using a noodle or a life ring and very comfortable just bobbing around, which is probably my favorite thing to do, is just float around in the water. So again, they'll swim stop. You can see from the swim platform, you can just jump right in, but there are ladders just for accessibility questions. It is pretty easy to get in and out using the ladders. And they do have hoses that you spray yourself off afterwards, so you get all that salt off of you. Up here, this is the town at the top of the pictures. This is the town of Hvar, which we do stop at on both itineraries. It's a popular spot. It's got a beautiful, this is the little piazza. Really great little winding streets. There's a fort at the top of town that you can hike to. It's got great little bars right along the water. That's one of my favorites personally. And we do hit that on both itineraries, which is great. In the bottom, you can see the walled city of Dubrovnik, which is part of at the end of the second cruise. And that is probably the most well-known city in Dubrovnik, or in Croatia. It's known, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, it's big features pretty prolifically in Game of Thrones. We'll hit some wineries on both trips. This on our second itinerary, we stop in the town of Malistone and go to an oyster farm, which it's unique to any of our tours, Italy and beyond. It's pretty fantastic. We take a little boat across the bay and go to an oyster farm. They teach us all about how the oysters are farmed, how they harvest them, and then we eat oysters and mussels straight from the water on this little floating platform. It's the best. It's just the best day. If you're into that, if you're not into seafood, they do have other options.
I was just about to say, I never ate oysters growing up, but I'm open to trying new foods, and I was definitely a little nervous about it. But even for those of you who are not interested or have tried in the past, these oysters were just simply delicious. Like, sometimes I was worried about the texture, but there was a really nice texture. The flavor was really good. And in Croatia, when they eat the oysters, they only eat it with a little bit of lemon juice. And it's just refreshing and delicious. So even if you're hesitant, I would encourage you to be open-minded and try it anyway. You never know.
And that's a good point too about the food in general on the tour. We've had some questions about what if I don't, because we will feature seafood pretty heavily. Just being the fact that we will be on the sea and it doesn't get much fresher than where we are. But if you are not a seafood eater, or if you have a food allergy or anything like that, all of those things can be accommodated for as long as we know in advance and let the ship and the chef know. They can manage any allergies and do some alternate dishes. Like again, on the oyster excursion, they do have the option of having like meats and cheeses and something different if you absolutely do not eat or have a seafood allergy, something like that. So that's important to include here too. And then this bottom left picture, the Krka National Park, is part of Croatia 1, part of the first itinerary. It's actually the third day of our tour. And we'll go inland a little bit to this national park, and it is really stunning. There's this whole series of waterfalls. We'll do a little bit of a hike, nothing too terribly strenuous. There are steps involved. But it is really beautiful. You take this little boardwalk path through the woods, and there's just constantly, every turn, there's a different waterfall, a different view. And it's really unique. It's a really popular site in Croatia, very well known, very famous, and really something to not be missed on that first itinerary. Really gorgeous. Any questions? We'll go through a little bit more of the highlights as well. So if anyone thinks of any questions, let me know. So this is a little deeper dive into the route for the first Croatian cruise. So this is a little icon for where the Split, you fly in and into Split and out of Split for the first itinerary. And this is where the airport is. It's actually between Split and Trogir. So we'll start in, this is the town of Šibenik. That's our first stop. And on both tours, we have a hotel stay for the first night. So that's to allow, you know, for any delays or anything like that. So you're not worried about missing the boat. So we'll get you to Šibenik. We have an overnight, and we'll do a welcome reception that first evening. And we'll do a walking tour in Šibenik. And that is another Game of Thrones highlight spot for, again, anyone who was a watcher. It's a really cool city. It's protected. I can't really zoom in here, but there's a little bit of a bay here, really beautiful promenade, and we'll have a great welcome reception dinner that first evening. And then we're actually going a little more inland. This is, you can't really see it here, but there's a waterway. And so we'll be sailing into the town of Skradin. And this right here is the Krka National Park. So this is where those waterfalls were. So we'll dock in Skradin overnight, visit the waterfalls. And then the next day we come out here to Talashica National Park. This is the destination where we will be docked overnight, or at anchor overnight rather than at a port. This is the night we'll have our captain's dinner, which we have one of those on each, which is a night to dress up. The captains like to let loose, and we'll have it'll be more of a formal dinner. Formal is overstating it, but it'll be a nice night to get dressed up and have a good time. They did karaoke last year while we were on board, so I don't know if that's an option again, or if anyone's interested in that. We'll see if we can get Brianna to sing again, or everyone can try their hand at it. From Talashica, we go, this is actually a stop that's on the coast, on the mainland, which is Primošten. And then from there, we have a little bit longer down to Hvar, which is the town I showed you on that previous one that has the beautiful piazza and the great little bars and restaurants. From Hvar, we go to Trogir, again on the mainland, but it has the town where we'll be, part of town where we'll be docked is actually a tiny little island that, again, has really, really great promenade right on the water, little winding streets, beautiful little shops and cafes. And from there, we'll visit Split. We'll actually take a bus transfer. It's only about 45 minutes to an hour to Split itself. So we'll take a bus to Split to visit, and then we'll finish again back in Trogir, and that'll be the departure day from Trogir. So this has a couple more mainland stops. Again, this is the more off the beaten path destinations that are our boat company had curated for us. So they we worked with them to, for both tours, create something that was more culinary focused than their normal stops and excursions. But this one is really special. I think they're very proud to show off these places for everyone. And then just some of the highlights, like we talked about, we've got the national parks of where Krka National Park is, the Telashika Park, Šibenik's historic Old Town. Again, we'll do a walking tour of that with a guide. The Old Town is just really beautiful. The church, villages like Hvar, Primošten. Again, you feel like you've gone back in time. They're just really charming. And then the coastal towns. This is Trogir, like I was saying, has this amazing promenade right here. And then this is the old city where you can walk through the little towns. But you can see all the awnings and the cafes right here, where you can get a nice little gelato, walk around, or a spritz and enjoy yourself. Any questions about the first route before I move on to the second? No? Okay. And then cruising Croatia 2. This one, like I said, goes from Split to Dubrovnik. So it covers a little more, it's a day longer than the first. I think we have a question. Yes, Margaret.
Hi, another quick question. Electrical current on the ship, is it all European?
Yes. So you will want to use you'll want to bring an adapter and a converter.
Okay.
And with the converter is what you would want to use if you have anything that heats up. So that is like a curling iron, a straightener, steamer, anything like that actually has a motor or that heats up.
Okay, thank you.
And for those of you coming on the cruises themselves, we'll also have more in-depth group meetings, and we'll talk more about like packing and things like that. So if you think of more questions too between now and then, feel free to shoot them our way, or we can make sure we cover them in the group meetings. And we also offer, and this goes for any of our tours, we do offer one-on-one meetings too. If anyone would like to do a face-to-face with one of our team members, if you have specific like mobility questions or health questions that you don't want to cover in the group meeting, we offer all of that as well. So just want to make sure everyone knows that that's available for if you're signed up for a tour. This cruising Croatia 2. So again, you're flying into Split, but flying out of Dubrovnik. So we start in Split. We'll do an overnight there at a hotel for the first night, do a welcome reception there as well, a walking tour of Split. And then just due to the fact that there's some construction going on at the port of Split, the boat will actually leave out of Šibenik. So it's still the same route that we'll be taking. We just they can't bring the boat into Split. So we will still do our activities as planned in Split, and then they will bring us up to Šibenik, and you actually get an extra city because they're going to give us a little walking tour of Šibenik before we take the boat from there. Because originally it was going from Split to Hvar. So we'll go Split, Šibenik, Hvar. Hvar, again, beautiful city, beautiful highlights. The fort is great to check out. It's got some steps to get up there if you want to check that out, but the more the merrier. You're welcome to it. From there, we will go to Vis, and this is where the Blue Cave is. We'll take an excursion from Vis, and this is, if anyone's familiar with the one in Capri in Italy, this is the much more less traveled one. Definitely less crowded. We do try to get there early, so we'll leave our port early in the morning and try to beat the other boats there, but it is nothing like the crowds that you see in Capri. But we do take a very small wooden boat, so we'll split the group up. have to lay down in the boat and get through this tiny opening. And then it's this really beautiful cave that's lit from the sunlight. So it almost glows with this blue light. It's really beautiful, and it's a quick little trip, but it's certainly worth seeing. And so that one's usually weather permitting, but of the several times that I've done this, there's only 1 year we couldn't because the winds made it a little too rough to get in. But that's a beautiful stop as well.
And I'll just add in that you mentioned getting into the cave itself. You lie down in the little boat and enter the cave, but the cave itself on the inside is quite large. So there is a lot of space, and there can actually be multiple boats inside the cave, just for those of you who might be a little worried about it.
Yes, good point. Good point. You're only ducking for a few seconds there, and then you're in this big cavernous area. And it's really, you feel like you're in another world. It's really magical. And the island of Vis is also where we will do a wine tasting. There's a beautiful winery in the middle of the island that you sit outside, and they do a really beautiful like antipasti spread that's fantastic. There's an option there to do an excursion, a military tour. So this was also a big military stronghold. So there are some bunkers. They'll take you out in like a Jeep, and you get to see this where they used to land the planes. This was also a stop for World War II planes. So there's a former airfield there, airstrip, which is really interesting to see. So that's an optional excursion that day that we can offer you guys as well. From Vis, we will go to Korčula. Korčula, again, really beautiful, medieval. It's a little walled, the city will be in, the city of Korčula is a beautiful walled medieval town. We'll do an incredible tour. Hopefully we'll get the same tour guide that we've had the last 3 years, because we completely request her. She gets into character, and she is, Korčula is allegedly where Marco Polo is from. I guess Marco Polo is claimed by several places, but Korčula also claims him. She gives us the tour as Marco Polo's mistress, and she's in full like Renaissance wear and in character. She's fabulous. It's a lot of fun, but it's a great way to. We'll be doing a couple historic or cultural walking tours. This one just stands out, and it's because she does such a great job. She's so animated and passionate about showing you this town. And
there's nothing like it.
Yeah, I think
She's
Korčula is
incredible.
definitely a favorite. There's it's small. You can't. Most of these towns too are very small. You can't get lost. Even I was saying the winding streets, you can just meander and you won't get lost. And they're feel very safe, very contained. And you feel like you've gone back in time. They're all really stunning destinations. From Korčula, we go down to the island of Mljet, which is a national park. And the highlight here, we'll take the group into the national park, and from there you can do what you'd like. So there's a glacial lake, a saltwater lake in the middle of the island, and there's options. You can take a little boat to there's a monastery on an island in the middle of the lake. You can take a little rowboat out, which is a whole fun experience in itself. You can rent bikes. There are e-bikes and regular bikes, and go around the lake, which is fairly flat and easy to traverse. You can just swim. There are little swim spots. You can walk around the lake, but it's a beautiful, it's a really beautiful destination. It's wooded. It's, I think, the greenest island in the collection in Croatia, which has 1,500 islands, by the way, something we learned. But it's a really nice stop. It's completely different than any of the other stops. You just feel like you're in nature. And that's the evening where we'll do the captain's dinner for this itinerary, because there's not much of a town on the island itself, but the highlight being the nature park there.
This was definitely one of all the towns we visit are so beautiful, but this was maybe one of the most memorable stops. Last year, Martina and I, we rented bikes, and so we took our bikes around the entire island. And it was just really cool to, it was something different. And then we also took the little boat. It's a pretty cool experience. There's a little Croatian flag, and you wait on one side of the lake and you wave the flag, and the little guy with the little boat comes over and picks you up and then takes you to the little island. So that was a pretty cool experience. So this is something a little different from the charming historical towns, but just as beautiful and just as stunning.
Yeah, the boat ride itself is fun. And then once you're on the island, you can tour around the monastery. People do swim stops over there as well. There's little platforms you can swim off of. And then there's a very little bar where you can get the most expensive Aperol spritz or beer, because he's the only bar on the island.
But it's worth it.
But you can,
I think.
yeah, it is worth it. You can either take that little rowboat, or there is a free ferry that goes across on, I don't know if it's like 15-minute intervals. Either way, if you're not going to bike around, there's a lot of options for what to do there, and completely worth it to do that, and check that out.
And for the bikes, there's also an e-bike option, which I strongly recommend.
Same. Same. From Liet, we go to the mainland to Slano, and Slano is where we'll go up the coast a little bit by bus to Molly Stone, which is where the oyster excursion is. That's where we go to the oyster farm, oyster platform, and have that really cool journey there and learn all about oysters. Very famous also salt production in this area. Again, once you swim in the sea a few times, you'll realize why. And then from there on, we go to Dubrovnik, which is our final stop, and we'll have a walking tour in Dubrovnik. We'll do our finale dinner there, and then the next morning is departure day out of Dubrovnik. Again, some more of the highlights. This is you can see the town of Split. Split and Dubrovnik are I would say the biggest towns on any part of the tour. Split is a very popular jumping off point. This is the promenade, amazing promenade, a lot of nightlife. These are all bars and cafes. There's great restaurants in town. So for people, coming in early or anything like that, we can certainly make recommendations. Or if at Dubrovnik, any of these towns, if you're planning on doing travel before or after, we're happy to make some recommendations. This is actually the little island we were just talking about, where you can here's a little rowboat guy, and here's the ferry. So this is the one that's in the center of the lake that you can either take the ferry or the rowboat over to on Miljet. And then Dubrovnik, I mean, it's such a cool city. You can walk the walls. This is a walled city. You can buy a ticket and walk all along the perimeter. And then from the perimeter, there's different museums you can visit. It's just beautiful. You overlook the whole city, and we'll also have the option of taking a cable car up to the mountain above the city, which is, you can't beat that view. It's really stunning. Any questions about the second itinerary? Okay. And then we just wanted to cover some of the frequently asked questions. And again, jump in with more questions as you have them, but what's included in this tour and what's not included. So as I mentioned, for both tours, we have one night in a hotel at the very beginning, and we'll do a welcome reception. We'll cover what to expect from the rest of the trip. It'll be just a little mixer to get to know everyone. And then you have your yacht charter for the rest of the trip. So like I said, the first itinerary is one day shorter than the second, but it covers your time on the yacht. It covers all of your planned excursions, all of the tastings and things like that. Your meals are included. There's on both of the itineraries, I believe there's only one lunch on each that you would be responsible. Otherwise, there's breakfast every day on board, lunch. Dinner is either on board or it's part of one of our excursions. So we're either going to a farmstead or I believe there's one at an olive oil producer. We also have a drink package included on board. So juices, sodas, and then their house wines and draft beer. This is not something we did before. We've included it this time. So that wouldn't include things like cocktails, but again, house wines, draft beer, you can order them at any time. Anything else would just be, you would have a tab that you pay at the end of the trip. So again, all meals, and then all of those beverages as well. You have your tour leaders and local guides. We also will have a cruise manager on board, and then the whole crew as well. There'll be the motor coach transportation. So whether it's, for an excursion or if it's a transfer, all of that is arranged and with us. And like I said, the airport transfers will arrange based on your arrival and departure times. Anything not included. So airfare is not included in the pricing, nor is travel insurance, which we strongly recommend. And we have a company we work with that we can send you a link to look at called Insure My Trip. We have a lot of people that go through, if you have AAA insurance, or there are some credit cards that offer some purchase protection for travel related expenditures as well. So that's worth looking into. Port taxes and fees, those have to be paid by individuals rather than like a company. So those are €75 per person, and that's paid on board in cash. And then gratuity. So again, if you're signed up for the trip, we'll tell you what the recommendations are. They collect those at the end of the trip, and they have recommended amounts or a guide that you can look at for that. And then any spending during free time, obviously. So if you have free time in a town, anything you're spending out there, if there's any hotel charges or boat charges. So if they're going to check about making laundry service available, which I know we have some people that are doing both tours. So obviously that'd be a consideration. Mini bar at the hotel or any extraneous bar charges on the boat. If you do any optional sightseeing, like I was mentioning, if you want to walk the wall in Dubrovnik, that is a separate, anything, if you're going to a museum, anything like that, that's not included in the itinerary. So basically free time is covered.
I will just add real quick, for airfare, while it's not included in the price, that doesn't just mean that we leave you high and dry to figure it out yourself. So we, and for those of you who are already signed up, you've already received, the PDF that explains where you should fly into, where you fly out of, what time, pick up and drop off is, which for this tour specifically is very flexible, just because we arrange transfers based on your arrival and departure times. And then, we're always here to, if you need to set up a call and be like, I'm just overwhelmed, I don't know, where to start. We can always give you tips and tricks. So while we can't book it for you, we're happy to just guide you through the process.
Yeah, and I should add too, with free time would also include transportation that is not during the, like if we're the bus back from Dubrovnik to the boat is at 6 p.m. and you're like, you know what, I want to spend another hour or something and I need to take a taxi, obviously that would be considered part of your free time as well. So anything that's sort of on your own is what would fall under that category. Margaret.
Thanks. This is a very hard question to answer, but in the last few years, I've noticed that I've not had to take much euro or convert much money to euro when I'm in Europe. I've been able to use credit cards for just about everything. Obviously, that's not the case here. There's there are several things that will be done in euro cash. So do you have a guesstimate of how much euro cash would be required for each week?
Yep. So there would be that €75 port fees and taxes. And then if you were to add up the guide with the tipping for so they usually have one envelope for the cruise manager and one for the crew altogether. And I think, what did we amount that up to, Brianna, per week? Because it was around 200.
I'm checking now.
Maybe 225. So if you had 300 euro in cash.
Yeah, so our estimate, so port tax plus tips for the cruise manager and crew should total around 225 to 250 euros per person. So
Per
around
week.
500,
And that's
right?
per
So around,
week.
Okay.
And
Thank
yeah.
you.
And our recommendation for getting euros is actually using an ATM once you're over there. That's, I mean, it depends on your bank as well. Some don't charge a fee. If you want to exchange money before you leave, you should check with your bank. What we tend to do is use an ATM in country once we're there. And you just have to make sure you're using a bank ATM and not like Euronet or something, but and make sure the fees aren't too bad, but you should be able to get money out at an ATM also without any problem.
And one other question, are gratuities included for tour guides along the way and for bus drivers and people like that?
Yes, we will do, like if we're a group at a restaurant, we will take care of that. If we're doing a walking tour, we will take care of that. So all of that is covered. The only gratuities would be for the boat team members.
Okay, good. And you said that that's estimate of 250 to 300 euro per week per person. Did I get that right?
Right.
Does
Yeah.
that include the port fees or not?
That does not include the, Brianna, did you include the port fee when you?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And and that's something that'll be in the guide that we get you for people that are coming on the cruises themselves. We'll get all of that more specific information with numbers. And then like we were saying, if you do have a bar tab, and I'll double check, when we were on the boat last year, they did not have a way to process credit cards. So for like if you have a bar tab at the end of the trip, if you have anything that's not part of the drink package, or if you decide to do a laundry service, that would be cash as well. But I will double check that. So before we do your group meeting, Margaret, we'll get that information for you.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any other questions? I know one question we've gotten, and we talked about the food a little bit, was someone had asked, like, what is breakfast like? What's included with breakfast? It is a buffet. They do rotate it a little bit every day, but it's basically what you would expect in a hotel. So there's cereals, fruit, like with any European breakfast. There's usually meats and cheeses as well. There's eggs in different forms every day. Like one day it'll be scrambled eggs, one day it'll be like sunny side up eggs, some sort of breakfast meat, whether it's sausages or I believe they had bacon a couple of times, tons of bread options, coffees. There's a coffee machine, but then they'll also have just drip coffee that's available. What am I missing? Oh, sorry.
They have, something that's really popular there is like a puff pastry filled with spinach and cheese, and that was my favorite. I think I have that every morning.
I put a picture in here specifically. There it is.
There it is.
There it is. There it is. This little guy.
Delicious. Yeah. Must try. Highly recommend.
Yeah, sometimes you'll find them with like meats and cheeses. The spinach one is, the burek is very good. For lunches, there will usually be some kind of on any given day, there's usually some sort of little salad bar is overstating it. There will be greens with different, you can make your own salads. So if you're a big salad eater, that's a great option. And then there's it's typically a plated meal for lunches and dinners if you're on the boat. And typical protein, always a dessert, I think too. Always a dessert, guys. Yeah. So salad, there might be a soup, but it's a nice, good portions, a good amount. You shouldn't be too overstuffed. And then during swim stops, they usually bring down a little plate of fruit or cheeses, some little treat to make sure you're never hungry. I think there's always fruit available too, and there are water coolers on the ship. So if you bring your own reusable bottle, you can fill that up at any time. All right. Anything else, Brianna or Martina, you can think of other than what an amazing trip this is?
It's incredible. It truly feels unreal to be on your own boat with a selected group of people that all share the same interests, and you get to explore these darling little villages and take these beautiful swim stops that are beautiful and amazing regardless of whether you swim or not. Just even the views are extraordinary. And it's such an interesting culture that has been influenced by so many populations. It's an incredible experience.
Yeah,
my own family will be on it. My aunt and uncle will be traveling too, so I would not veer them in the wrong direction.
Yeah, and I should have said too at the beginning when I was saying how we picked Croatia as a jumping off point for our non-Italy tours. It seemed like a natural fit based on they technically share a coastline. And there's such influence from Venetian rule, which we'll hear about in a lot of the different towns or tours. The food, you'll see a ton of familiar dishes. I think one of my favorite things was the risotto we had for lunch one day. That was amazing. So there's a lot of overlap, and I think you'll feel very comfortable there. Bill and Marla.
Yes, nice job on the overview.
Thank you.
One question, what will the temperature of the sea be?
So it depends where we stop to, because depending how deep it is, like I feel like every cove was a little bit different each day, depending on the depth of the water. We were there last year at the end of July, and it was pretty brisk in the deeper waters. I can't think of what the actual temperature was, but we can certainly find that out. It was not like a Caribbean water. It was refreshing. Not uncomfortable.
It should be around like 70-ish degrees.
Oh, very refreshing.
It's a cooling off experience from the warm air.
Yeah. And I will
You'll be thankful for it some days. Yeah.
Yeah, I will say that we're doing this earlier in the year specifically because it has been getting so hot in the July timeframes. But honestly, the only time we found it not too hot, but when you're on the boat, there's a breeze and it's really comfortable. It was mostly like if we were in a town and we're, doing a walking tour or something, because all of those towns have those really light colored buildings. But so I think June's going to be very, very comfortable. I would hope so.
80-ish.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's almost, you want like maybe a light sweater or something for the evenings if you're outside on the boat, because the breeze is very nice. Yes, Martina has her hand up.
I would also like to recommend to anyone to get excited about the trip. There's a really darling book that is called Chasing a Croatian Girl, and it's written by an American author about him falling in love with a woman from Croatia, and it's all about the culture shocks, let's say, between American culture and Croatian culture. And I cannot recommend it enough before going on the trip, because it'll really help put a lot of things into perspective, and it's also really funny and written in a very smart way. Cannot recommend enough. Chasing a Croatian Girl.
Okay, got that.
Yes. Martina finished it while we were on our cruise last year and gave it to me, and I finished it before the end of the end of the trip. It's a quick read, but yeah, you really get a sense of the Croatian people.
Yeah, cool.
Any other questions? Well, for those of you who are already traveling with us, we can't wait to see you there. Our team, me, Martina, and Brianna will be on the second itinerary. The first itinerary will be David and Rin Caputo, who are actually the owners of the business. They've also already done the cruise before and are very excited to get back to Croatia. Again, for those of you coming on the trips, when we do our group Zooms, we'll do something more in depth and you'll get to meet everyone who's joining as well. So we do still have space on both itineraries. We have balcony or lower deck rooms available. So please reach out. Or if you're already coming on the cruise, tell your friends. And yeah, we can't wait to see you in Croatia. And hvala, which means thank you.
Hvala.
Hvala. All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.